Now you're sharing.
Great.
Now I'm
Hey.
sharing. Thank goodness.
You
Okay.
got it.
I
You got
wanted to
it.
share. I'm a sharing kind of person. Okay, good. Now with that, we can get started. So as I said, this is the faculty promotion workshop for the academic track faculty. And the goals of the workshop today are really to provide some basic information about the faculty tracks, the promotion dossier process, and the timeline. I'd like to be able to dispel some of the myths that may be out there about promotions, processes, and policies, share some promotion tips, and answer any questions that you might have. So the three faculty tracks that we're going to be focusing on today are the academic tracks. So first is the Perens research track, and you can see the titling for that track is Professor of Department X, and then followed by Perens research. The research scholar track, the titling is Professor of Department X, and the teaching scholar track is Professor of Department X. So this pie chart really shows sort of how our medical faculty break down according to the tracks. And you can see that we have 2,200 plus faculty overall. The clinical track is the biggest track by far, with over 1,000 individuals. Clinician educator is next with almost 600. And then if you look at the tracks that we're focused on today, the pre-track is really the track before people differentiate into research scholar or teaching scholar. And so that's 85 research scholar at 138 teaching scholar, 227, and Perens research at 123. So overall in the academic tracks, there are about 600 faculty members. So now we're going to look at some of the standards and criteria across the tracks and at the senior ranks. So this chart depicts the standards and criteria for associate professor. And you can see here, let me just move a couple of things over so I can see it. So this is at the associate professor rank, and looking across the various criteria on the various tracks. And NR signifies not required, R is required, and PC is positively considered. And you can see across the tracks that and research is not required for teaching scholar, but certainly is required for research scholar and Perens research. Grant funding, again, not required for teaching scholar. Scholarly productivity is required across the three tracks, but really differs in terms of the type of scholarship that is expected in the tracks. For the teaching scholar track, there's a broader definition of scholarship, whereas in Perens research and research scholar, the expectation is that there will be publications that present original research. A national reputation is required across all three tracks at the associate professor rank. Educational leadership is required in the teaching scholar track, but not in research scholar or Perens research. Teaching, mentoring, and advising excellence is required for both teaching scholar and research scholar, but not for Perens research. And that's true because many of our Perens research faculty are almost 100% funded. And so the expectation is not there for teaching, mentoring, and advising. Clinical contributions are positively considered across all three tracks as our service contributions to the university. Okay, let's see if I can get this to go to the there. Okay, so this is another, oops, sorry, I'm flipping back and forth. So this is at the professor rank, and there are a couple of differences at the professor rank. Many of the criteria remain the same for the tracks at the professorial rank, but there's a little bit of a difference in terms of, certainly in terms of reputation. For the teaching scholar track, a national reputation is still the expectation, but for the research tracks, it's expected that individuals have an international reputation at the full professor rank. Educational leadership is, again, required for teaching scholar. And then the teaching, mentoring, and advising remains the same across all three tracks, as well as the clinical contributions and service contributions. So the real difference here is with regard to the reputation at the professor rank. This is another way of looking at the criteria across the associate and full professor ranks for the teaching scholar track, which is depicted here. And you can just see that where there's a split across the row, it's where it changes between associate and full professor ranks. So for the teaching scholar track at the associate professor rank, the expectation is that the individual have a major educational role, and at the professor rank that they lead an educational program. The other difference across the two ranks is in terms of reputation. Again, national reputation is required at both ranks, but there's a slight difference wherein that at the professor rank, the reputation should be as an educator in the area of expertise for the teaching scholar track. So this is looking at research scholar track across associate and full professor. Here, there is a difference across the research criterion, where the associate professor rank, that independent or collaborative research programs are expected, and at the professor rank, the contribution to collaborative or team-based research should be substantive and distinct, so that the individual should be able to demonstrate that they have a very distinct and substantial contribution to a research program. The other difference, again, is national reputation at the associate professor rank and international reputation at the full professor rank. And here, the Perens research track is basically the same in terms of, as compared to the research scholar track. So the difference is at the professor rank, the contribution to the research program should be substantial and distinct. In 2020, 2021, I put together a working group to look at the diversity, equity, inclusion activities of our faculty and how those were considered in a variety of areas. That working group made a recommendation in 2021 that the standards and criteria should include an expectation that all faculty in any track and at all ranks should demonstrate a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if you look at the standards and criteria as they are going to be rewritten, every track and rank has this expectation that a faculty member will demonstrate a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. That new criterion is going to come into full effect July 1st, 2024. We wanted to give faculty ample time to consider what activities they were doing in diversity, equity, and inclusion, to be able to have those reviewed at their department reviews, and to be able to present them when they come up for reappointment or promotion. We're encouraging faculty who are coming up for promotion before July 1st, 2024 to include those activities in their dossiers because they will be positively considered, certainly. We've also, the working group also put together lists of metrics with examples of activities, DEI activities across the various domains of the work that our faculty do. So in clinical work and research and teaching and service. So those are available on the BioMed Faculty Administration website, and you can see those to identify which activities make sense for you. And I suspect that many of you are already doing those. So what are the components of a promotion dossier? Trust me, it's really not this bad. And now that we're completely paperless, it's really not this bad. But it does feel like there are a lot of components for sure. So these are the components broken down by the components that you are responsible for as the candidate, and then the components of the dossier that your department will provide. So as the candidate, the expectation is that you'll provide an updated CV, that you'll have a personal statement, that you'll provide evaluations, and a list of suggested referees. So this is called the candidate list of referees. So you provide a list to your department of the people that you'd like to be solicited for letters of reference. The department provides the chair and division chief letters of support, the department promotions committee report, a sample letter that's sent to referees requesting those letters of reference, referee letters as they've been received by the department. So the referee letters will include those that the department has proposed and solicited, and those that you have proposed. And then the department also provides evaluations. So these are some tips with regard to your CV. So overall, when you think about preparing your curriculum vitae, think about what will make a reviewer's job easier. So how can you organize your CV and present the work that you do so that it's as easy as possible for a reviewer to identify where you meet the criteria for promotion? So first and foremost, certainly use the Brown format. It's available on the BMFA website. It's at a very high level and is not very specific, but it certainly is the foundation for what you should do to really individualize your CV. Highlight your name on publications, makes it easier for reviewers to know whether you were the first author or senior author or somewhere else in the list. In terms of your research funding, be sure to include the granting agency, your role in the grant, and the dollar amount and the years of the grant. Separate your presentations into local, regional, national, and international. And this is really important because there are some presentations that may appear to be local, so they may have happened at the medical school, but it's actually a national meeting. So be sure to identify those presentations and how they fall into those various categories. Organize your professional organization activities with the listings of your role. So for instance, if you're involved in the American College of Physicians and you've been involved at the state chapter level, have that indicated, and then indicate where you've been involved at the national level. And that can really help a reviewer identify where you've had progressive involvement in your professional organizations and speaks to your ascending the regional, national, and international reputation criterion. When you prepare your CV, try to get feedback from colleagues, certainly from your division chief, from the promotion committee chair, if they're willing to review it, and from your department chair. And if possible, I always recommend, review a CV of a recently promoted faculty member, because they may have had some creative ways of organizing the work that they do into subcategories under the Brown CV format. So this slide depicts sort of the teaching components that you should include in your dossier or in your CV. We stopped requiring that teaching scholar track faculty present a teaching dossier, but it is important to include this material in your CV. So record, and it's also important for research scholar and parens research to identify where you're involved in teaching, advising, and mentoring. So record all of the teaching, advising, and mentoring activities that you've participated in and the titles of those activities, your role in any course or rotation. If it's available, the dates, numbers of, and types of learners, that can be very, very helpful. List any advisees and mentees that you've had. And again, this is particularly important for people in the research tracks who may not be doing more formal kinds of teaching. List any awards that you've received, any scholarship resulting from your teaching, advising, and mentoring. I would recommend what a number of faculty do, which is where you've had publications with trainees, be sure to highlight their name and maybe have an asterisk and indicate that they were a resident or fellow or med student with whom you were working. Be sure to provide any curricula that you've developed, disseminated, and published, because this can count towards scholarship, particularly in the teaching scholar track. And then any evaluations that you've had for classes, lectures, and presentations, including those that you may have done outside of the institution. And I even recommend that if you've gotten a letter from the organizer of a meeting about your presentation, certainly include that if there aren't formal evaluations. The research components of your CV obviously include all of your original publications, your research grants, as we've already discussed, and then include any research trainees with whom you've worked. In terms of teaching, mentoring, and advising evaluations, I recommend that everybody keep an ongoing file of their evaluations, because the last thing you want to do is try to pull it all together right before you're going up for promotion. So to the extent that you can, get all of your electronic evaluations available. And for the medical students, that would be OASIS. For the GME programs, it would be a New Innovations or eValue. And then again, include any evaluations from invited presentations, advisees, and mentees. Some departments have developed evaluation forms for mentees. And if you don't have one of those in your department, you may, I think we have one on our BMFA website, and if not, we can provide that, that you could use with your mentees to include in your teaching, in your dossier. And certainly ask program administrators for help. They can help you gather your evaluation. So the clerkship directors, the residency fellowship, and CME offices can help. Now, the personal statement is probably one of the more controversial components of the promotion dossier in terms of what people think should be in it. Some departments recommend that you basically address all of the criteria for your rank and track, and others have a more laissez-faire attitude. This is my opinion about what should be in your personal statement, and since I have the floor right now, I can present my opinion. So I think the best personal statements are those that really tell the story of your career path. So more of a biographical essay than a list of the ways that you meet the promotion criteria. Certainly keep it brief, so 2 pages max, and that doesn't mean you can go down to 5-point font. But keep it as brief as possible. Explain what might not be clear from your CV. So rather than just putting your CV to music or to prose, I really recommend that you give your career path more life than your CV might actually present. Help the reader understand who you are, what you do, and what gives you joy in your career. So this is where you can really express your passion for the kinds of work you do. And here, be sure to remember your track, because it's always disconcerting to read somebody's passion for research when they're on the teaching scholar track and no mention of teaching. So be sure that you at least address the track you're in and the work that you do in that track. Present your goals, aspirations, and how you hope to realize them, because promotion is not only sort of a look backwards in terms of what you've done, but it's also, a vote of confidence for what you're going to do in the future. And again, just remember your track. So like real estate, location, location, location. Referee letters. So the purpose of referee letters are really to provide an objective, unbiased assessment of how you meet Brown's promotion criteria. What's your reputation in your field, whether it's regional, national, or international, as a researcher or an educator, and the likelihood that you would be promoted at the referee's institution. So think about that when you request referee letters, when you suggest names of referees and whether they have comparable tracks at their institution. Referees should be at arm's length, so they shouldn't be relatives. They shouldn't be people with whom you've worked very, very closely, but they can be people with whom you've worked maybe on a national committee. You may have published a paper with them, but they shouldn't be your mentor or your mentee. And so again, think about it as somebody who's a little bit at a distance from your work. They have to be at your promotion rank or higher. So if you're going for associate, they have to be associate. If you're going or full, and if you're going for full, it has to be full professor. The referees may not know you. They're provided with your dossier, and that's another reason to be sure that your dossier really is clear in terms of how you meet the criteria. So the promotion timeline and process can feel really long. I mean, it will take, about a year from the time that you're given the green light to the time that you are actually promoted. But I liken this to making sourdough bread. And if any of you started making sourdough bread during the pandemic, you know what I'm talking about, in that there is relatively little active time with sourdough bread, but there's a lot of inactive time of waiting and letting dough rise. That's very similar to the promotion process. So the amount of time that you're actually active in the process is relatively short, but it does take a long time to get the referee letters to pull everything together for your department promotion committee to meet. So don't be discouraged by any means by the amount of time that it seems to take. So these are the steps that most departments follow with regard to the timeline. So the candidate and division chief or the department chair decide if the time's right for promotion. So this is where you really start to initiate the process. The candidate, that's you, is informed of the departmental deadlines and starts to prepare promotion documents. So this is where you update your CV, do your personal statement. Most departments do a preliminary departmental review. So it's either with the chair, division chief, or the promotion committee. And then the promotion committee and department chair inform you about going forward with the process. The department then solicits the referee letters for candidates. And this is the part that can take, as I said, can take a long time. The promotion committee then reviews completed dossiers once they have everything pulled together, and they vote and make a recommendation to the chair. The department then completes the dossier and sends it on to CMFA, including the department chair letter. And then CMFA meets, reviews the dossiers, and votes on the promotion. So this is just to make it clear that two of the tracks, the teaching scholar and research scholar track, have term limits. The Perens research track does not have term limits. So the teaching scholar and research scholar tracks have three-year terms at the assistant professor rank. So the expectation is that you will go up for promotion before the end of those 9 years. And in fact, you're supposed to go up a year before your final year. So you're supposed to go up before year 8 or in year 8. You can go up in year 9 if you waive the 1-year notice of review. So it's either year 8 or year 9 when you would have to be reviewed for promotion. There are extensions that can be granted. You can request a 1-year extension in each of the three-year terms. So that would be a total of 3 years of extensions. And they can be requested for anything, a disruption in your research that may have happened because of the pandemic or something that happened with your lab animals. You may have had a medical leave or basically anything that could have disrupted your progress toward promotion. The request should be submitted in the term in which the event happened, however. Sometimes people aren't aware that they were supposed to request it, and I'm very forgiving in granting extensions, but traditionally they're supposed to be requested during the term when you had the disruption. We also gave an automatic extension to everybody in the teaching scholar and research scholar tracks who were at the assistant professor rank during the pandemic, so that everyone was granted an additional year. You don't have to take that by any means, but it's available if you need it. So CMFA, this is not your CMFA. They are not wheeling and dealing, drinking and smoking, certainly. But this is your CMFA. So there are 8 members of the Committee on Medical Faculty Appointments and Promotions. They have to be at the full professor rank, either in the medical academic tracks or the campus-based tenured tracks. And members serve a 3-year term. We have 5 members from the clinical departments, 1 from biology, 1 from the School of Public Health, and 1 from another university department. And it's really important to highlight that the diversity of the committee membership, because we've had archaeologists on CMFA. So when you're thinking about your CV and making it easy, think about an archaeologist digging through your, sorry about that, through your CV. CMFA reviews all senior level promotions and appointments in the clinical departments. They meet throughout the academic year. So we don't meet during the summer because campus-based faculty are often doing other things during the summer. All members read all the dossiers. We have a discussion, and then the group really formulates questions to ask of the department chair. The department chair then joins the meeting, presents the candidates for promotion, and answers any questions that may have arisen. So this just shows you what the overall process is. So again, it starts with the Department Promotions Committee and the chair. The dossier then goes to CMFA. CMFA then votes. If the vote is then presented to the dean, after the CMFA meeting, the department chair is allowed to give candidates a call to let them know what the vote was in CMFA. But with the caveat that the dean, the provost, and the president have to approve it. But usually, I don't think I've had many, if any, circumstances where the dean or the provost overturn the decision. I then present the candidates for promotion to the dean, and then they go on to the provost. The president approves. It is at that point that we can send out a letter from BioMed Faculty Administration indicating that with the anticipated approval of the corporation, the promotion would go through. Typically, the promotion would be for the next academic year, so starting July 1st. Sometimes if people come up in the fall and their dossier was ready earlier, but we weren't meeting in the summer, we can backdate a promotion. But this is basically the process. So what I just want to highlight here is that there's so much work that goes on at the department level that by the time the dossier gets to CMFA, it has been sort of revised and commented on. And if there are problems, the candidate may be told to hold back and wait, or sometimes switch tracks. So by the time it comes to CMFA, the vast majority of actions are approvals. So that's the good news. And I just want to highlight that there are so many people involved in this process, many of whom will be on the panel today and facilitating the work breakout groups, that everybody is here to support your promotion. So I thoroughly encourage you to go for it, to start the process, to get all the feedback that you need so that you can be successful. We really are here to help you. So we are now going to move on to the panel discussion. And I am going to invite our panelists to introduce themselves. I think I can stop sharing. These are going to be our panelists, but I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you how they have interacted with the promotions process over the course of their career. Let's see if I can end the show here. Did I end the show?
Not quite.
Not yet.
Okay, let's see if I can do this.
Thank you.
No, that's stop video. That would be bad. I didn't stop it yet, huh? Oh, Heather's back to help me. Where did it go?
Oh, stop share. It's a little red one right
It's a
there.
little
It's so
tiny
small.
There you go. My presbyopia. Okay. Hello again. So now I stop the show. We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am going to call out the panelists as they appear on my screen. Steve Rasmussen.
So hi, I'm Steve Rasmussen. I'm from psychiatry. I've been at Brown a long time. And Shelley, do you want us to give a few remarks now, or do you just want to introduce?
I am going to. Why don't we just have you introduce yourself first, and then I'm going to just tee up a question to start things off. How's that?
Great.
Great. Matt Bolton.
Okay. Hi, I'm Matthew Bolton. I'm the manager of academic affairs. I work at BMFA with Shelley. I am here to answer any questions about the mechanics of promotion. I support the CMFA. I put together the CMFA calendar every year. I work with your department administrators on collecting the dossiers and help smooth out any rough edges and make sure that your dossier is looking good by the time it gets to the CMFA.
Matt makes everything work in the promotions process, so he is the person to go to. Next is, let's see, Tony Caldemone.
Hi, everyone. Tony Caldemone. I'm starting at the bottom, pediatric urologist from the Division of Urology from the Department of Surgery. And for the past 5 years or so, I've been running the promotions committee for the Department of Surgery. And I truly have been at Brown forever.
No, I think I've got you beat, Tony. I've been here for 40 years.
That doesn't, well, if we have to go continuous, we'll argue about it.
Okay. Jennifer Freeman.
Hello, everyone. Let's see, I served on the pediatric side of the promotions committee. I was asked to do that about 5 minutes after I was promoted to full professor, and then served on CMFA with Shelley and Matt for about 4 years. And now I'm back on the pediatrics promotion side as the co-chair of that committee.
Yeah, that is, I guess that would be one of the downsides of getting promoted, right? You might be asked immediately. All right. So I'm just going to kick things off by asking each of you to share your favorite promotion tip. And I'm only going to allow you to give us one because I know that you probably have many tips that will emerge as we have the questions. But what's your favorite promotion tip to share with faculty considering promotion? I'm going to start with you, Jen.
All right, I'll go with a quick one. Keep up with your CV. Every time you do something, put it on your CV. You will forget everything from reviewing for journals, other roles you may have, mentees, and it's very hard to catch up if you get behind.
Yeah, good tip. Excellent. How about you, Tony?
I'll emphasize the one that I think I advise more often than any is to keep track of the mentoring, because the amount of mentoring you do, you just don't realize it's just sort of a curbside type of thing and it's part of your daily work. But it comes in so many different varieties, whether it's helping a resident for grand rounds or a presentation at a meeting or career counseling or remediation. There are lots of different varieties of mentoring that you could do. And the more you keep track of those, it looks awfully good on the CV because it's very, very valued here at Brown.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it was now several years ago that we expanded teaching to include mentoring and advising, particularly for the research scholars who might not have the opportunity to do as much formal teaching. So the mentoring and advising becomes really, really important. So I totally agree. Matt Bolton, how about you? What's your favorite tip?
Okay, well, when compiling your potential list or your list of potential referees, while you need 4 candidate selected referees for the dossier, cast a wider net, because often we'll see maybe non-responsive referees or folks that just are too busy and are unable to write a letter. In the last session with the clinical folks, one of the faculty members said, yes, this is great advice, because when they went around to ask for a letter from my referee, he had died. So just to make sure things are moving along with your dossier, because it's one of the things that does take a long time is to collect those letters. Cast a wide net, and then if we get more letters than is required, they can all go to your dossier and just have 5 or 6 letters that make you look really great.
That's great. Yeah, and one of the things that I didn't mention, and I probably should have, is that you do not ask the referees to write a letter for you. So you should have no contact with the referees. It's the department promotion committee that will contact them. You provide a list, but the promotion committee will contact them. So yeah, but good tip. How about you, Steve?
Mine is don't underestimate your accomplishments. Sometimes I think people are hesitant to think that they're ready for promotion. Your chair is out to try to get you promoted. And the worst that's going to happen if you come and ask if you're ready to be promoted is they'll suggest what you need to do to take the steps that you need to get promoted. So don't underestimate your accomplishments, and ask for guidance, and we're out to get you promoted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, and Jen's been on CMFA and Matt attends all the time, that when we have the discussions of the candidates, it's often, why did they wait so long? Or why didn't they come up earlier? So we've had referees say that not only are they, appropriate for the rank that we're requesting, they're appropriate for the next rank. So yeah, don't underestimate your accomplishments. So I am now going to let Alex Kelleher moderate the session by fielding the questions. Alex is the director of the Office of BioMed Faculty Administration, and Alex also attends all of the CMFA meetings, so she knows everything that goes on behind those closed doors.
Indeed. So I have a couple questions that have come in already, and then we also have prepared from the survey submissions that you supplied us with before this session. But feel free to continue to send questions either directly to me or to the whole group in the chat, and we'll add those in to the conversation. So to start, one question that we've gotten lately with our new DEI metrics that will be rolling out July 1st of 2024 is the questions are, primarily surrounding around how do I think through how to organize that in my dossier, in my CV, how to best prepare for that part of the presentation now.
Maybe I'll take that just because I chaired the working group and we had a lot of discussion about this. So we don't have a specific answer. I think we've seen, as people are including their DEI activities in their dossier, we've seen a number of different ways that people are handling this. Usually, I think what we've seen is that the DEI activities are embedded in the various domains. So if it's in teaching, if you're teaching, underrepresented in medicine trainees, that may be in that part. If you're doing research in health disparities, that would be in the research section. But we have had discussion, and I'd certainly be open to people having a DEI section of their CV. To really present that. The other place where I think it's a great opportunity to include your DEI activities is in your personal statement, if it really makes sense in terms of your biographical essay and the work that you do. But I'd be open to any other thoughts that people have about how best to organize that, because you've all seen it in CVs and dossiers already, even though we don't require it. Jen, did you unmute or?
Another area I might suggest is that some of us write division director letters in support of dossiers, and our department chairs do that as well. And sometimes some of the activities that someone does are a little less sort of, metrics oriented, and really that person can personally speak to how you are as an individual, how you support that mission clinically, how you are with staff, and making sure that everyone feels included, that you really create a climate for learners and patients that's inclusive. So I think in some ways I think division directors may be able to start to do that as one piece to round that out, as well as department chair letters.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And in fact, I think we just had a presentation recently by a department chair who spoke to the research that somebody was doing in their RO1, and that they were oversampling African-American individuals, and that wouldn't have come through necessarily had the department chair not shared that. So great suggestion.
Great. All right, next couple of questions. The next one is focused on reputation, and how is it that you build your national and international reputation, and how is this demonstrated?
I can start that off if you'd like. I think this is easy, actually. I think the important thing is that you look for opportunities either through your societies, local societies, or national societies to get on committees and do some work. They're always looking for volunteers, and you work your way up the chain in that regard. The other that I think sometimes get overlooked is being asked to write editorial commentaries or review articles. I mean, that qualifies as scholarly productivity, but it also qualifies as you having a reputation and expertise to the point where organizations are asking you to do things. Panels at various meetings, I think, is another way to demonstrate that, and certainly invited lectureships are the obvious ones as well. So I think there's a whole big group of those, and try and be as inclusive as possible.
Great.
Yeah, one other thing I might add is that, first of all, many of you have mentors or more senior faculty in your groups who are also very busy, and maybe getting invitations to do things like run a workshop or be a session leader at a national meeting, and they don't have time or they don't really need to do that anymore. So let them know that you're available and willing to do those things. Most folks, as we've said, are really more ready to do those things than you think. And often that other individual is really happy to sort of share that wealth. I also think that editorial roles that you may have, so reviewing papers is really important because you've been selected by a national journal, international journal, sometimes for your expertise to review that paper. So that's really important. It's also another time when you may say to colleagues, if you're too busy and it's in my area of expertise with you, I'm happy to do those as well. As Dr. Caldemone mentioned, many national organizations have tons of committee work. They're looking for help. Don't feel shy, nominate yourself, ask someone to nominate you. I think those are really other good ways that you can point to that national reputation. Chairing sessions at your national meetings. Again, a workshop is really unique. If you are part of a workshop, that's more than just, I submitted an abstract and I'm doing a platform presentation. That's a little bit less, I would say less sort of pointing to a national reputation as it may be if you were organizing a whole workshop or a panel discussion or anything along those lines, where it's really you're being invited to have that stage for a while for your area of expertise.
Yeah, great. And I do think that, starting out, if you're looking to get involved with your professional organizations, starting out with the local chapters if you can, and then working your way up, because as many of you have already said, many of these organizations are just desperate to get people to be doing committee work and helping out. So that's usually something that you can do quite readily.
If I can add one more into that I think
Sure.
gets overlooked quite a bit, is that when you're asked to give a talk at a CME course or you're part of a CME faculty, it doesn't have to be on a national level necessarily. But that's certainly included as demonstrating expertise in a content area that you can demonstrate on your CV.
Yeah. And one of the things that, we've seen certainly during the pandemic is that there was a lot of disruption of the national meetings and presentations, but we've encouraged faculty to include, if you were invited to present and the meeting was canceled, include that in your CV, because it still counts even if you never delivered the presentation. Be sure to do it. Steve, were you going to say something or no?
Yeah, maybe I can add, Shelley, that part of the national and international reputation is getting to know people who are going to write your letters. And, so the contacts you make at national meetings, the contacts you make through your mentors, introducing you to people, the ability of your mentors to, recommend you to get on a study section or perhaps to, get on one of these committees or elsewhere. That's really important. So don't neglect the networking aspect of things. And that's the way reputations get made, in addition to the quality of your work.
Yeah, excellent suggestion. I also say that, if there are visiting professors who are coming to your department, take it the opportunity to meet with them, because they could potentially be a referee down the road or make contacts for you to get you sort of more involved nationally or internationally. So that's a great way to do that. Alex, more
All right.
questions?
We've actually received through the chat, I've received a couple of questions that are specific to the Perens research group. So I'll post them here, but ultimately I would also say that if, we want to dig into more detail in the breakout sessions later on, we can also keep part of the conversation for then. But just to kind of broadly to start, people are curious just to ask a little bit more about timeline for when it's most fitting to start, asking about whether or not you may be ready for promotion to the next level in that Perens research track. Also, trying to clarify whether or not there is a set time limit that is tied to the Perens research track, or if it's more open-ended.
Steve, can I have you take that, since you probably have more Perens research faculty promotions than any other department?
Yeah, so it sounds like there's, two parts to the question. I can say for our own department that having substantive grant support and, a certain number of publications available probably are the two criteria that people look at, when you're up for promotion in the promotion committee, as well as your national and international reputation, and that you have an independent line of research. So once you accomplish those things, I think it probably varies a little bit from department to department what those actual criteria are. I know ours are listed on our website. We have very clear criteria. They're not set in stone. So what I would say is you want to be in the ballpark. And then if you have a question, ask your promotions committee chair or myself or the chair of your department, am I ready to go up, do you think? And as I said, if there's a question about it, they can give you guidance, but more often than not, it's the response that Shelley just said is, how come you didn't come to me 2 years ago? Gee, you would have been ready to go up. So also there's an annual review process. So I know in our own promotions committee, for people coming up for the associate professor rank, that feedback should be coming back to you pretty much on an annual basis of whether or not you're on track or not on track, when you might be ready for promotion. Those things are discussed in our promotions committee each time it meets. With regard to the second question of, is there a term limit on Perens research like there is on the research scholar track? You heard Shelley say the answer to that is no. The downside is that your funding could end at any year if you're on the Perens research track. So, there's ups and downsides to each of those things. And promotion is not necessarily, guarantee your job stability on the Perens research track in the way that it does at some other tenured universities. So that's important to keep in mind. But there's no term limit in terms of, as long as you're supported, how long you can wait for promotion if you're on that research scholar track.
I think it gets even fuzzier when you're talking about going from associate to full professor, because there's no term limit in any of the tracks for that promotion. And what we have seen, and has been reaffirmed in the recent sort of report of the status of women at Brown, is that women tend to spend more time at the associate professor rank than men. So this is where I would emphasize what Steve has already spoken to, which is have those reviews, even at the associate professor rank. Be sure to check in with your division chief and department chair with regard to when you're ready to go up for promotion, because if you can go up, you should go up for sure.
All right. Do we have time for one more question?
I think so, yeah.
All right. I'm going to dive right in. Does mentoring international students at foreign institutions, would that qualify as an international reputation? And how about being invited as a grant reviewer from other countries?
Yes, definitely grant reviewing for other countries, international reputation. I would think if you're being chosen to mentor students overseas that way in your area of research expertise, that would also, I think most people would sort of look to that as evidence of an international reputation as well.
Yeah, I think any international activity, and if you make sure that's clear in your CV and possibly in your personal statement, speaks to an international reputation. Except for just traveling internationally, that doesn't count. Nice if it could, right? So is that it, Alex? Should we?
I think we're at a good breaking point. Yes.
So if you did have questions that didn't get answered, certainly feel free to pose those during the breakout sessions to get more in detail into information. I know that sometimes people are hesitant to ask very specific questions in this big session, so ask them in the breakout group for sure. So I want to thank our panelists so much for all the work that you do to support our faculty in the promotions process, and for taking the time today to share your experiences and your expertise. It was really terrific. So thanks again. And so now we are going to move into the breakout sessions. And I think I see at the bottom of my screen, join a breakout room. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. So you should be able to open that up if it has an auto open for you already. And if you know your track and want to send yourself right into a breakout room, you are welcome to do so. And if you aren't sure or you want to double check on anything, Michelle Turcott and Heather Robichaud from our offices are going to stay in our central room here, and we can help get you directed. So feel free to join a breakout room, and I hope it's a wonderful conversation.
And I want to thank our facilitators. I think they've all gone into the breakout room, so they're not going to hear me say this, but I want to thank them for volunteering to do this. So Alex, which breakout room are you going into?
Oh, Alex, I have going into Perens research.
Okay, so does that mean she wants me to go into Research Scholar?
Yes, that's what I have you down for.
If you want to go into teaching scholar, that's fine.
No.
I don't want to take that from you.
No, you go to Teaching Scholar. I'll go to Research Scholar.
Okay.
I don't have the join a breakout room anymore. It went away on my screen. I don't know what my.
I could actually add you to one.
Okay.
Yeah, I can too, either
Okay.
Matt or I.
Kelly, did you want me to go to a breakout room or?
If you want, that would be terrific, but you decide what's best for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here. I'm happy if I can be helpful.
Yeah, that would be great.
I guess I would go to just Research Scholar.
Yeah. Come on in with me.
Okay, if I can figure out, I might need to be sent there also.
I think Matt can send us.
I can do that. Okay, I'm sending you now, Shelley.
Okay,
All right, hold on a sec, Dr.
I got it.
Okay, which room would you want to go to? Research Scholar?
Matt, you can go ahead and Michelle can,
Okay, I'm gonna
can
go
help
now.
whoever's
All right.
left. Okay.
Okay, I think
Bye.
everyone's good now. Bye.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
I'm sorry. Andy Musitz here. Can any of you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm unfortunately just on the phone, so I don't have the ability to self-assign.
Oh, okay. Where would you like to go?
I'm on the teaching scholar track.
Okay. I
Is
will.
that an option?
Yep, I'll assign you to that room right now.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Is there anyone else who needs help getting into a breakout room?
I see a couple of other.
Well, hi, this is Christoph Stratz. I was hoping to get into a teaching scholar.
Okay, I am gonna put you in that room right now.
Yep,
Oh, did you do it, Michelle?
I just did it. Yep, you're in there.
Thank you.
And then Mark Kendall.
Yeah, if you could put me in the research track, that would be great.
Perens research,
No.
research
The-
scholar.
Future scholar.
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Off you go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Whew.
I love how you're like, off you go.
Sorry.
Magic wand. Congrats, ladies. Oh my gosh. Woo.
Thanks for staying on in case we had any.
My pleasure. I honestly feel like I wouldn't be helpful. I was here just for emotional support.
Thank you.
Just to freak out with you in case anything went sideways. 'Cause
Well,
that happens to
So the
everybody.
weird thing about and I won't keep you because it's 5 o'clock.
No,
but
I'm actually here. I'm taking something from my office from 6 to like 7:30. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking about it. Shelley was able to share her screen when she hopped on before. And then I was kind of in a tizzy and I'm like, well, is she a co-host? But afterwards, I'm like, that wouldn't have mattered because she was able to before.
Right, I thought the same thing.
That was the strangest thing to me. And I noticed when we were sort of in our back, like before we opened the meeting room, I noticed that she looked different because it didn't have host or co-host next to it. But then I get caught up because does she use a Mac?
Yes.
I've never used a Mac in my life.
I'm on a Mac. And
You're
it's
on a
different.
Mac.
Yeah.
They're
it's
different. Right. So
Yeah.
like, that's
Figure out
why.
a lot of different things.
yeah, it looks different. The buttons are different. They're in different
Right.
places. And I was
Exactly.
like, oh, it's a Mac thing. Yeah, that was so strange. She's so wonderful and calm and natural. Like,
Thank God.
Yeah.
oh
Yes.
my gosh, she's
I
just,
just feel bad because I'm on a PC and I'm super familiar with PCs. So it's like I feel sometimes unhelpful
yeah,
because yeah,
yeah,
Macs
that's
are
really,
just
that's really
so
hard.
different. Yeah.
What was
Yeah,
she
I
last
would have
time for the
nothing.
clinical? I don't,
What's that?
she didn't have any trouble with the clinical workshop.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So again, it might have just been a Mac issue because she did share screen earlier.
Do we
So
recognize Hannah Frank?
True. I'm sorry.
no, but
Oh,
I
yes.
can let them
She
in.
just entered the waiting room.
Got it. She's in.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Are you trying to go into one of the breakout rooms for the
Yeah.
promotions workshop?
I am. Sorry I had to join late, but I
Oh,
figured
that's okay. I
That's
can
all right.
put you in. Do you know which one you're going to?
yeah, just the research one,
Research scholar or Perens research?
research scholar.
Okay, I'm gonna send you over right now.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Heather, that's really tricky. Like, do you think you could schedule just like a session with IT and be like, look, like I use a PC, you know, all my friends
Yeah.
on PC, but and maybe they could give you like a little playbook, you know, like just
I
the,
know.
like the shortcuts and the tips and tricks that like
Because
control alt delete.
Abby,
I don't know.
I wouldn't have thought that she would have any issue.
You know,
I
and
mean-
it's just like the Zoom gods, you know, I feel like it's just something is bound to throw a wrench.
No, but
she
still,
handles it with
you
such
know, it should be a well-oiled machine, like you said. It really, you do your best, but you always want it to go 100% perfect. And when it doesn't, it's like, now what?
Mhm.
There's like no such thing. There's no such thing. It's maddening though, because
It really is.
like we all know how to prepare, but like this virtual element is just a
Mhm.
wild card.
It's crazy.
Because you know, it's like none of us are IT specialists. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we
Right,
all just
right.
had to sort of pivot and figure it out on the fly.
I actually have IT coming Tuesday, so I'm just gonna make a list of things to ask.
Yeah, good idea.
Like the sound on the computer for emails. Again, I think that's a Mac thing,
Yeah.
not a Gmail thing. So anyway, I think it went well, other than that little tiny hiccup.
Right, right. Yep, the breakout rooms were fine and everyone was, oh, yes,
Yeah.
that was good.
Thank you so much, Jen, for all your help planning since I'm a newbie.
Oh, my pleasure. No, my
Yes, very
pleasure.
much.
That's what we're here for, to be honestly, you know, it's so interesting, our office, like when we see me certify a program, everybody, it's like the process is the same, but every sort of partnership or relationship or collaboration is a little different. Like some people, like you guys are a well-oiled machine. You're like, we got this. Others, we run the entire show. So it's like, it just runs the gamut of like, we're here to help. We can help with tons of things, or we can mostly stay out of your way and just do our piece and hopefully make that part a little easier. But no, we're here to help. Happy to do it. Happy to share tips and tricks or horror stories because we've got our own
Right.
little book.
It's always good to have another pair of eyes and another pair of thoughts, and it's like, oh, God.
I mean, all my
Yeah.
little tips and tricks are what somebody else showed me.
Mhm.
So
Right,
I'm always
right.
just like, let me pay it forward. You know, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have known it if someone didn't show me. So let me just pay it forward.
Wonderful.
Actually, can I ask you a question for next year, just thinking ahead, the registration portal that the faculty use to register, is there a way to add a spot for them to put in their track, or is it standardized by your office where like it's only certain questions that you ask when they register?
Oh, that is a good idea.
So when they register for like these particular programs,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we can capture
Okay.
certain information. Absolutely.
And could you also try and add Heather for next time, so she is able to actually go and look at who has registered?
Oh, enrollment, like
Yes.
a course level admin?
No, because that's
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why not. So we talk about a running list. We have a running list, like now that our season is like slowly winding down. We've been so in the trenches and frankly underwater, but now we're able to catch our breath and kind of be able to have these discussions internally about like, how do we streamline things? How can we go about processes? But one of them is, we call it Ethos, our LMS, the learning management system, essentially the registration website. It's audited by Brown OIT. And I'm not sure if it's once a year or a few times a year, or if it's random. But there's a very particular, and like we're required to have like the single sign-on option, just like other, even though it's an external, like it's our own, we bought it, we maintain it, we run it. But because the main usage is Brown faculty, we were required to build in that single sign-on technology and capability. But so because with that comes like security responsibility. I'm not even quite sure.
Because I do remember before Heather came, I could have sworn that Abby and me were both able to go and see who had registered for enrollment. So
Sure.
like,
and it's entirely possible. In the past like 6 to 9 months, we had to audit the site and pull admin access.
Okay.
You know, it's, how often do you guys do these programs? Is it once a year or more than once a year?
Once a year.
Yeah, just this month.
Just once a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me do a deep dive on because there's lots of different levels. So let me just do a deep dive on, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be site-wide, which is like, you know, full access to everything, right?
Right. If you can't, it's not a big, and I'm not saying it to complain. I'm just saying it would be nice if Heather could, you know, go on like when she wants to go on to see it instead of,
The other thing we were thinking about, because we send a separate event Google form to collect any questions or topics they want discussed. So wondering if that could be built into like the registration form, so then we wouldn't have to reach out to them and we may capture more information.
There's definitely there's definitely options for that. I mean, we could
that's a great idea.
Because our response rate was super low because it's just a Google form that's sent out. So
and the
everyone's busy.
hospitals hate Google. Hospital does not play.
They was probably blocked when they got it. So
right. Yeah.
Like the invites, if they were at Lifespan, and half of them came back undeliverable.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that madness? Isn't it?
You can't imagine.
Yeah, we run into it all the time. Yes, for sure. So there's options for that. And like, we can even hit it multiple times. I mean, we can set up, you know, like include it in the email confirmation, you know, however you wanted to do it, whether they simply email you or we send it to our account or, whatever you want to do. And we can, hit it, include it multiple times. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just, you know, when we debrief and talk about next year.
Yeah, make notes of all that for the folder, and then we can just, you know, build it into next year, make it easier and better and smoother. All for it.
Cool, because I know it's November, but I think we reach out in like June or July to get the
For
ball
sure.
rolling.
Oh no, ideally 4 months is great.
Okay.
Because, you know, it takes time. Like there's a little bit of a process. And that takes time. And then to be able to build the website, that takes a little time. And then the back and forth, if you need to, inviting the speakers, getting them to accept, if they need to fill out forms. I'm hoping to streamline that. That's another winter project. We'll see. And then just having plenty of time to promote it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's hard because where are we? It's mid-November. So like, when do you guys how far in advance do you ideally like to roll it out? When does it make sense for you?
I mean, Michelle knows more than I do, but
normally
I think
it's this time, it's November. But I know CME needs a good 3 or 4 months ahead of time to schedule, because you have other
and we start reaching out to
with.
speakers in August. So because everyone's so busy, so they can put a save the date on their calendar. Just because they're like high level.
It's tricky timing. So for like a mid-November program, you're actually doing the nuts and bolts planning in August. And that's hard because it's summer. People are either like scrambling to take their last bits of summer vacation, or they're like focused on like back to school. You know?
Yeah.
It's a tricky time.
Right.
Actually, in one of my CFAC meetings, which is Clinical Faculty Advisory Committee, They're like, why, we should do this on Saturday mornings. I was like,
I don't think
sure.
so.
So I guess like, within our team, we'll talk about any feedback we get, but I don't think that's feasible, but.
How many people said, yeah, let's do it then?
Well, it was just like a thought. There's only, 10 people in that group, but
Right.
Wow.
there's never going to be a perfect time because then
Yeah,
people might, weekends are family time. So
Right.
Right,
I don't
right.
know. Stay tuned.
I
And you don't
know.
want to after the holidays, because after this week, that's it, forget it. People
Oh,
are like,
yeah.
gone.
Oh, we are,
It's
yeah,
gone.
we are on the slippery slope.
Exactly,
The
exactly.
oil slick slope to the holidays, baby.
That's it. You get Thanksgiving, and then you got Christmas and vacation.
Yeah, I know,
the
it's
students
funny,
are
like,
off.
we have so many people who use our LMS and, of course, there's like an email us or a question or a submit form. And sometimes I just find that people forget that there's actual real humans on the other side of like groups and emails and websites, like we'll have like multiple angry emails because, it was like midnight and somebody wasn't available to troubleshoot. It was just,
Oh, geez.
oh my gosh.
Really? Yeah, no, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Well, especially working virtually like that, people just want an answer, like instant satisfaction, an answer to their question right away.
On
type of thing.
demand.
Yeah, on demand.
Life, so much of life has been turned into on demand, which is scary.
I didn't get anyone sending me an email asking for the link.
Me either. I had one person who couldn't get on, but then they were able to. So
Okay. Yeah,
that
no,
was
I
good.
didn't get
Yep.
so that was good. I did have my dad call me in the middle of it. It's like, no, dismiss. I'm like, oh God. Classic. I saw it on my phone. Even though my
Classic. Oh my gosh, the timing is just.
Yeah, isn't it great?
No, glad it's over.
I'm right there with you.
These are great. These are so informative. They're so.
They are.
Like, it seems like I'm actually surprised more people don't participate. I mean, although it's recorded. It's recorded.
Yeah, the first half.
It's recording us right now too. I can stop that.
Oh yeah, we can stop that.
Stop recording.
We'll just have Chris Cam